kids, where are you? It's time for all the art to tell stories.
Chapter 1. The Dream of Flight. In a quiet and peaceful forest, there lived a tiny bird named Mary. Mary wasn't like the other birds in her flock. While most of them had strong wings that could carry them high into the sky, Mary's wings were small and weak. Whenever she tried to fly, she would flap her wings as hard as she could, but she could never quite get off the ground. Despite her struggles, Mary had one big dream. She wanted to soar through the sky, just like the other birds. Ever since she was a little chick, she would sit on a branch and watch the older birds glide through the air, their feathers shimmering in the sunlight. Mary longed to feel the wind beneath her wings, to see the world from above, and to be free in the sky. But every time she tried to fly, she would fall back to the ground, her tiny wings unable to lift her. The other birds in the forest were kind, but they didn't believe that Mary would ever be able to fly. "Your wings are too small," they would say gently. "Maybe you should stay on the ground where it's safe." Even though the other birds meant well, their words made Mary feel sad. She didn't want to stay on the ground forever. She wanted to chase her dream, no matter how difficult it seemed. Deep down, Mary believed that one day she would fly, even if no one else thought it was possible. Chapter 2. Doubt and Determination. As the days went by, Mary continued to practice flying. She would flap her wings over and over, trying to lift herself off the ground. But no matter how hard she tried, her wings weren't strong enough. Each time she failed, Mary felt a little more discouraged. The other birds in the forest began to notice how hard Mary was working, and some of them started to doubt that she would ever succeed. "Why do you keep trying?" asked Sam, a large sparrow with powerful wings. "You've tried so many times and it's not working. Maybe you should just accept that you can't fly." Mary looked down, feeling the weight of Sam's words. She knew that he wasn't trying to be mean, but hearing those doubts made her feel even more uncertain. But despite the doubt in her heart, Mary couldn't give up. She knew that her wings were small, but she also knew that her determination was strong. Every night, she would dream of soaring through the sky, and those dreams gave her the courage to keep going. One evening, as the sun was setting, and the sky was painted with shades of pink and gold, Mary sat on her favorite branch, thinking about her dream. She could see the other birds flying gracefully through the sky, their wings strong and confident. Watching them made her feel a mix of hope and sadness. "Maybe they're right," Mary thought to herself. "Maybe I'll never be able to fly, but I can't give up yet. I have to keep trying." With that thought in mind, Mary made a promise to herself. She would practice every day, no matter how many times she failed. She would strengthen her wings, little by little, until she could finally take to the sky. Chapter 3. The Road to Strength. The next morning, Mary woke up early, determined to begin her training. She knew that if she wanted to fly, she needed to make her wings stronger. So she started practicing in new ways. First, she began doing small exercises with her wings, flapping them as fast as she could while still on the ground. It wasn't much, but she could feel her muscles growing a little stronger each day. Even when her wings were sore and tired, Mary kept going, knowing that every bit of practice brought her closer to her dream. At first, the other birds didn't pay much attention to her. They assumed that Mary would eventually give up, but she didn't. Day after day, she trained, pushing herself harder than ever before. As time went on, some of the birds began to admire Mary's determination. "I didn't think she would keep going," said Lily, a small finch. "But look at her. She never gives up. Maybe she'll surprise us all," added Ollie, a blue jay. Mary heard their words, and though she appreciated their support, she knew that the only way she would prove them right was by flying. So she kept practicing, pushing through the moments of doubt and frustration. Every evening after a long day of training, Mary would sit by the riverbank and watch her reflection in the water. She would stretch her wings out and imagine herself flying over the trees, the wind rushing past her feathers. "I will fly," she whispered to herself. "I know I will." Chapter 4. A New Challenge. Weeks passed, and Mary's wings grew stronger. She was still far from being able to fly, but she could feel the difference in her body. Her once weak wings were now sturdier, and her muscles had grown from all her hard work. One morning, while Mary was practicing, she decided to try something new. Instead of staying on the ground, she climbed to a low branch on a nearby tree. It wasn't very high, but it was higher than she had ever attempted before. Her heart raced with excitement and nerves as she prepared to take a leap of faith. "This is it," Mary thought. "Maybe today will be the day." She took a deep breath, closed her eyes, and jumped from the branch, flapping her wings as hard as she could. For a brief moment, she felt herself lift off the ground. Her heart soared with hope, but just as quickly, her wings grew tired, and she fell back to the earth. Mary landed softly on the forest floor, her feathers ruffled. She had been so close, closer than ever before, but she still hadn't made it. She sighed, feeling a mixture of disappointment and determination. "I'm getting there," she whispered. "I just need to keep practicing." Even though she hadn't flown, that brief moment in the air gave Mary the motivation to continue. She knew she was improving, and that was enough to keep her going. Chapter 5. Encouragement from Friends. As Mary continued her training, something wonderful began to happen. The other birds in the forest started to notice just how hard she was working. They saw her practicing day after day, and they began to admire her perseverance. One afternoon, while Mary was resting after a long training session, her friend Charlie, a wise old owl, flew over to her. "You've been working very hard, Mary," Charlie said, his deep voice full of kindness. "I've been watching you, and I'm proud of how far you've come." Mary looked up at Charlie, surprised by his words. "Thank you, Charlie," she said softly. "But I still can't fly."